How you doing, Josh?
How's it going, Austin? I'm doing good.
I'm doing good. I'm excited because we have a unique guest today. Usually we interview our fellow students, but today we have Professor Dave Brill.
How's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Thanks for having me here, by the way.
This is our last episode
of the semester.
Yeah, it's we're going to keep doing this every week. Last official one of the official
of the term.
Fall 2016 semester. Okay, the fall 2016 term.
That
Dave,
That's so
fancier.
official, by the way, to say term. It's very high class right there.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said term in my
It's like
life.
semester is more for
High school?
High school, and then when you get into college, it's like term.
All right.
So I've been saying the high school word my whole college career then.
Wow.
I guess we'll have to go with term then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how was this term, Dave? Was this a different term than...
Was this a successful
How long have you
term?
been teaching?
Wow, that's like two different questions. Which
Well,
one do you want me-
I want to start there. I want to start how long have you been an instructor here at COC?
I actually began teaching in 1998, actually the fall of 1998. And it was my first class was taught on a Saturday. It was video production. I had 5 students in the class.
Five
whole
students.
5 students.
Whole students. Yeah, this was back in the day, before the state actually started caring about budgets, and would literally let anything run here. And so we actually had video production courses during the week, and this was something they offered on a Saturday. So they stuck me there. I had 5 students. It was funny because I would stand up in front of 5 students and be super nervous teaching, almost shaking going. And now, of course, I'm like, it was 5 students, Dave. What were you thinking? So, so I actually started teaching part-time in 1998. I was part-time for 5 years and then had an opportunity to go full-time here and applied for it and, became a full-time instructor in 2003. So, and I've been here ever since.
So your whole time you've been instructing here at COC, you've been working parallel at ABC7, or did the ABC7 come later?
I have. When I first came back from doing this professionally, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about in a little bit here, but when I first came back professionally in 1998, the ABC and COC stuff kind of paralleled each other. Basically, I got hired. My first semester working here was 1998 fall, and then literally just about 3 months into teaching here, I got hired working part-time at ABC. And then ABC offered me kind of a temporary full-time position. It's a weird union thing, but they offered me literally like 6 months of full-time work. So I was there expecting to get hired full-time there, and what kind of happened was I was a full-time freelancer, and then basically in 2003 decided to switch it up because my wife, at the time, we had a baby boy, and she was working at Cal State Northridge. She was full-time there, and I was living kind of off her medical stuff. And then she's like, look, I want to stay home and raise Kyle. And so this job opened up as a full-time opportunity where there was all the benefits and everything else. And so I decided to go here full-time and then just, go part-time at ABC. And that's where I've been ever since.
ABC, the number 2 market in the country, you must have been excited as hell to get a position at such a big place.
Yeah, it was really kind of sort of surreal. I didn't expect to be in the business when I came back here, to be quite honest with you. I was actually looking at other opportunities, and it just kind of fell in my lap.
Because you would win around the country being a reporter at various smaller stations.
Right. I was actually a sports guy. I was a sports anchor. I was in Nebraska, western Nebraska for a year. I was in Wyoming for a short time. I was up in South Dakota. Came back here for a little while, then went back to Wyoming for 4 years. So give or take, I was probably on the air doing sports for about 10 years. And then, there was some circumstances when I was there that kind of led me back here. But, when I got back here, I wasn't expecting to continue on with my journalism stuff. Didn't know what I was going to do, quite honestly. Teaching was kind of my avenue. And then it just so happened that I got an opportunity to get a part-time editing position at ABC, and that led to a sports producing position because they found out that I was a sports producer and a sports anchor back in those other areas I mentioned. And And it's just I've kind of slowly transitioned over the years to being kind of full-time in sports. I don't edit news anymore. I haven't in years. So and it's great. I love it. It keeps me involved in the industry. I get to talk about it when I'm here in classes. It's been a great, I think, avenue for my students that when they're trying to get a foot in the door, I've been able to help them out. A lot of times with internships, and now it's happening where I've probably had 4 or 5 students that have actually gone to work in the building with me at ABC7, just because they I happen to meet them here, learn their work habits, and then recommend them for jobs there. So yeah.
So I gotta ask, do you finally feel like you make it once you start at one of the biggest stations in the country, when you've started in the Wyomings and the Nebraskas, once you get hired at that big market, do you feel like you've made it? Or you must be ecstatic.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if I deem it as I've made it. Quite honestly, I would have much preferred to have been on air. I'm okay and I'm at peace with being behind the scenes, and I certainly it's been great from a standpoint of getting to work with some extraordinary people and put food on the table, and it's I like it from that aspect. But quite honestly, there are some things that if I could have go back in time and change some things around, I still would have liked to have been on the air.
So you like being talent?
I did. I really enjoyed it. I had to leave it, not because I wasn't, any good at it. I had, not to get too in depth to it, but, gear back when I was doing sports was extremely heavy. Cameras were heavy. The decks were heavy. The light belt that you wore was heavy. And after doing 8 to 9 years of running up and down sidelines with that gear, it kind of destroyed my lower back. So I got to a point where I just knew that I couldn't continue with that job, and I was getting opportunities to shoot photography in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was actually offered a job in Albuquerque as a photographer, and I just knew that it wasn't going to work. So I kind of came back here to sort of kind of reset myself, and I didn't expect, I think, when I came back here in 1998 that I was going to be here. I assumed I would go back to Colorado or something like that. And, I'm still here 18 years later. The ABC thing kind of fell into my lap. I'm very happy it did. It's been an amazing experience. And like I said, I get an opportunity to work with some pretty amazing people every day. And so I guess if this was Plan B is pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like to me almost at some point in your life you had fallen into this corner of the business where you were doing the camera work, you were doing the heavy lifting. Is it accurate to say that you would have rather been doing the on-camera reporter type job?
No, honestly, I enjoyed doing it all, and you were forced to do it all, and you're still forced to do it all in a small market out there. So if anyone actually happens across this and is listening and is interested in the business, realize that if you think you're just going to be an on-air talent, or you're just going to be a cameraman, that simply doesn't exist outside of.
It kind of goes out the window.
Absolutely, it's everything. So when I was in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, when I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming, not once but twice, when I was in Rapid City, all those markets. I was doing it all. I was producing my own segment, shooting my own stuff, going out to my own practices, covering games, doing feature stories, and still expected, to be on the air at 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock every night that I was working. And so I learned, a broad set of skills, and I enjoyed all of them. I love shooting too. Don't get me wrong. I loved anchoring. I loved shooting. So I had opportunities to go a lot of different directions. And quite honestly, I probably would have been, wasn't expecting it to be, but it looked as if as I was going through my career as a younger guy, it just so happened that my skills were getting more valued as a photographer, editor, as they were an anchor. And that's just because.
There are more of those jobs than there were for
not so much editing anymore, because that's, been obviously, if
back
you're a photographer,
then,
back then you could get you could get photographer job pretty easily. And it just, like I said, it was disappointing to me at the time to not physically be able to say yes to go to like an Albuquerque, New Mexico to be a photographer. I have no idea where I'd be now, quite honestly, if I went that route. But I mean, the on-air thing is it's hit and miss. It's very subjective, and I was just getting more opportunities, I think, behind the scenes than I was in front of. And so, I don't know, maybe the journalism gods were up there looking out for me. Because when I got back here and now I'm in a position where, I don't have to worry about the on-air at all. I can write for someone who's on air, and I've been on air, so I understand what they're going through. But, I guess at this point, where I'm at now is just being able to, like, write copy behind the scenes and be creative. And the only thing you don't see me do is anchor it. But everything else, well, I guess I don't shoot it either now, so I'm in-house. But it's okay, I mean, I do miss being on air, but at the same time, I'm okay with what I do now. So,
right.
I mean, I'd be lying to you, though, if I said that I would be, hey, it's amazing. I don't know if it's amazing, but I enjoy it.
Right. And obviously most of us and most of the people who I imagine will be listening to this know you as a professor.
Yes.
They've either had you as a professor or
currently have.
Yes.
The teaching gig just kind of, it didn't come out of nowhere. You moved back here with that in mind.
Well, I have to give an assist to my sister. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but my sister is the chair of the photography department downstairs. So she was here a year ahead of me. And she's my younger sister, and very proud of her. And she knew that kind of the last few months of when I was in Wyoming that I wasn't sure what I was doing next. I knew physically I couldn't handle being a photographer full-time. I was struggling with trying to find work, move up as an on-air personality because for whatever reason, it wasn't happening. It may have happened eventually, but so she started getting into my ear.
Do you think you gave up too quick on that?
I don't know, because I didn't give up on it as much as I just knew physically I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do the small market gig. So I think that the decision was made for me when I landed flat on my back in Cheyenne, and I just said, you know what, I got to do something different here. But in that couple of months before it actually finally I went down, I could kind of. I could kind of sense it was coming. And so she and I started talking, and she said, have you ever thought about teaching? And I said, no. I said, no chance, and she'd get in my ear every now and then. And then finally, when I came back here to kind of get my back in order and figure out what I was going to do next. And I was applying to post-production houses and other stuff. And she says, why don't you just apply? Why don't you just try it and see how it goes? So what I did was, because I had nothing but time on my hands at that point, is I wound up taking a summer class here with Joe Lanthier, who's still here, by the way. He was teaching a video production course. I sat in his class, and I was just watching him teach. At the same time, that fall, while I was teaching on Saturdays, I was also taking an editing class with the computer editing, which I had never done before, and Photoshop, which I'd never done before. So I was kind of educating myself. And so I had an opportunity to see Joe teach in the summer when my sister, believe it or not, our departments were one at that point. So photography and radio and television and film were together. She basically, she couldn't directly hire me, but she hired a full-timer ahead of me, which I knew was fine. And then the very next day, he interviewed me, and then I got the job. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting, It was something I wasn't trained to do. There's a lot of folks on this, even today, I'll tell you, in 2016, there's a lot of terminology that gets thrown around, where I can see they're classically trained instructors. I come from industry, and I still feel like at times on the academic side, I'm still a fish out of water because that's not my classic training. My classic training is being on the street and knowing exactly what, you guys have to face.
Right. And that's funny hearing that from the ex-department chair of the media.
I'm going to tell you, my first, they stuck me at department chair like 6 years ago. The first time around, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I was looking at this stuff going, this is just like reading a foreign language.
Right.
And
There's
then,
paperwork on paperwork just piled up.
I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like the guy on MASH where you were just signing paperwork and passing it on.
Hey, well, I want to talk to you more about your teaching career. We're going to take a quick break. All right. So we had an interesting conversation. You were talking about how much you love radio. I love radio too. Josh,
I love radio,
you
man.
obviously love radio.
Obviously.
You're part of the startup radio at the College of the Canyons. I
started this thing, man, last
radio,
semester.
Radio's kind of dying. Radio's dying. Is that sad to listen?
think about?
I don't want to call
Yeah.
you old, Dave, but you have been around and the radio's been relevant for most of your life, and
Yes, it has.
now it's not relevant anymore.
I think it's morphed a little bit. I think people are still listening to podcasts, right?
That's true.
Yeah, that's it's true to say.
Yeah.
But the traditional terrestrial radio, a
Yes.
song plays with, you got commercials, and
Right.
broadcasts out to everybody live. That's not really
kinda fading.
relevant anymore. These online streaming podcasts are the new thing, and
I
it's
know.
not the same thing.
It's not, but it is. I mean, I think there's a greater freedom though with the podcast stuff because you can pick like a topic, right? And you can pick the idea for a show, and if it's like YouTube, right? It's like if you come up with a unique concept, people are going to listen to you. And in fact, I think your reach is even greater. I'll tell you my personal radio story. This is how I got started. I was at the University of Colorado. That's where I went to school. And literally my introduction to radio was on the first day that I arrived on campus. And I didn't arrive on campus to do broadcast or radio or any of that. I actually was going to be a newspaper guy. But my roommate actually was sitting there who I hadn't met before. And he's like, hey, I'm going to go down to the radio station and try to be DJ. You want to tag along? I said, sure. So I went down there, and that was kind of how my introduction got into radio. I wound up, doing some news updates. I wound up being a DJ on several shows.
This is your introduction to broadcasting.
This was it, right? And that's how I changed my focus. I really enjoyed it. But the thing that was so funny about it is that our viewing area, our listening area, was piped into the local cable station in Boulder. So like if you were flipping around the channels and you got to like there was like a community calendar bulletin board that would just kind of flip constantly on the TV. It was channel 27, and they would pipe in the campus radio station from the University of Colorado. And I swear we probably had 6 people listening to us,
That's not bad. Like that's what
I'm
we're.
just guessing.
Dave,
I'm literally just guessing at that. But what
you
I'm
guys
saying,
are pulling better ratings than
I
Canyons
guess,
Radio.
what I'm saying is, if you find a niche today in 2016 and you market it well, we didn't have social media to say, "Hey, we're on the air."
Right.
It was like I got on my phone. By the way, I didn't have a cell phone, right? Because this was like 1984.
The landlines.
You went and you spun the dial around, right?
Right. Yeah. I actually attached it to like a raven, like Game of Thrones style, and just let it fly. No, I seriously would call a few friends and say, "Hey, we're on the air now. You got to listen to us." And that was pretty much it. Otherwise, it was like some guy at home sitting there at 3:00 in the afternoon, flipping around on his remote and just randomly hearing us, which,
Right.
so, I mean, you can do more with what you guys have in 2016. You can promote yourself on Facebook and Twitter and, get a buzz going and people share what you're doing.
Right.
And, it's just a different game.
Right. I wanted to talk to you about teaching because you've been a teacher for 18 years. Is that correct?
Yep.
What was your impression of teaching before you got into teaching, and did it meet those expectations?
God, no one's ever asked me that. My impressions of teaching before I started teaching.
More your expectations, I suppose.
I guess I had, for the most part, I don't really remember what it was like thinking of what my teachers were thinking of in high school. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's too far back. But I do remember in college, I had a really good relationship, particularly as I got older, like in my 3rd and 4th year at CU. I had a really good relationship with a lot of my instructors. They were very good to me. They were very communicative. I felt like they had a vested interest in what I was doing and what we were doing as students. And so I guess if I thought about, I guess when I was thinking about how I wanted to be with my students, I think by paying tribute to them, I feel like I should be the same way, that you kind of put yourself in a mentor role. I mean, think about how much time we all spend here, right? And, how much time I spend, how much time you guys spend here. And, I've always tried to pattern myself, I think, after just what my example was, which was teachers that really cared, and I mean, I had some good ones. I had one in college. Her name was Melda Adams. I have no idea what she's doing now, but she was like it was my fourth year of school, and she was kind of like the equivalent of what I am when you do Cougar News. We were called News Team 27, and she was a producer. When she wasn't with us, she was producing stuff in Denver at the NBC affiliate there. And she just really spent a lot of time like sitting down, talking to us, motivating us, telling us about our strengths, telling about, what maybe, weaknesses we could address. And I felt like I got a really good education just from her, just listening to her, talking to us. So I always appreciated her. And so I guess there's a little bit of Melda in me when I'm doing, doing stuff here. And, it's and I guess that's why, I mean, you've seen it. You've been with me for a year and a half. So you've seen our successes and our frustrations, and,
right.
You see where it kind of builds sometimes. The semester's, not been as good as I would have liked. And so, but I've constantly got to remind myself as a teacher, hey, listen, my job is here is to motivate and to teach. And I don't want to be that instructor that, students who, 10 or 15, 20 years from now go, oh my God, his class sucked. I want it to be a positive experience.
Yeah. So. What's special about your teaching style is you make yourself incredibly available to all your students. And what strikes me when I watch you do your thing, Dave, is you give your cell phone number out to people. You add them on Facebook. You have all these methods where they can contact you 24 hours a day. And I would imagine those people build up over years and years and years of doing this. And sometimes people will contact you when they're 10 years removed from the program. They're working somewhere around the country.
When they need references.
And not even that. They're still contacting you for personal advice.
Yeah, I never figured that is what it would wind up turning into. I mean, I literally felt I had no, other than just watching what my instructors did at Boulder, I really had nothing to go on. It was just kind of me just sort of trying to figure it out as I went, and it's strange. Like in 2016, after doing this for 18 years, to still be in touch with a lot of my former students, who I will honestly say at some point it goes from being a former student to a friendship, and so I've got a number of people that have come through here that, who just call me just to say, hey, what's going on? It's sometimes it's for advice. Sometimes it's just because we had friendly banter back in the day about the Broncos, or, I mean, everyone knows where I stand politically, and, how how people love to gravitate toward my area. But regardless, I mean, it's been nice. I mean, I have a vested interest in seeing where you guys go too. I mean, it's a two-way street. I really like the fact that I can keep track of what you guys are up to. You're not just a number to me when you come through here. You're not just, oh, here we go again, another semester. Let's just get them out of here. I just want to get my paycheck. That's never been what I've been about.
I don't understand how you pull that off. Doesn't that just exhaust you? Being on call for all those people 24/7.
I don't know.
I mean, as a student, I like it.
I don't really think about it. I just kind of, if I'm sitting on the couch at home and I'm watching a show and I look over and someone's got a question on my phone, I just answer it. It probably drives my wife nuts more than me.
That's what I was about to say. Like, what if you're just enjoying a night in, and then you're messaging these people, these people who are asking you life advice tips, and and there's your family. Like, come on, Dad, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
Get away from work.
I catch a little flack from time to time. I mean, if I'm at dinner and she's like, "Put your phone away, please," I mean, and it's not like I even think about. You're right, so I'll put my phone away. The one that recently has been funny is at night, because you guys are up at all hours of the night. Yeah. Mindy the other night goes, "Look, can you do me a favor? When you put your phone by the bed, can you at least turn it over so the buzzing and the light doesn't keep waking me up? Because I just sleep through it now. I'll just turn over and look over it every now and then at it. But
that's a lot of pressure, isn't it? I mean, some of these kids really, your advice really matters to them, and it means a lot to them. Does that ever weigh on your mind? Like, what if something were to happen not in a student's favor, and it was because of advice that you gave them?
You know what? I used to worry, and I'll be honest, I used to worry about that a lot more than I do now. And I'm not saying this out of arrogance, but I guess experience, where I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character. I'm a pretty good judge at, I don't know, I can't explain why, but I can tell you I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of talent. And I can't, at one point I used to say, gosh, what if, here's this person relying on me and they're going down this path, and what if it fails, and, they're going to come back to me like 3 years later and go, what the heck were you thinking, But it's funny. It hasn't, I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but
so far you have a pretty good record.
So far it's pretty good, I mean, so far I've been pretty dang accurate. And the other thing is that sometimes, there are cases where I assume someone would be on a certain path, and then they find something within that, a couple years down the road where they find better. But I've never heard someone straight up come back to me and say, why would you send me down this path? Never heard that. And, maybe I've just been lucky. I don't know. But I mean, it's you guys. It's like watching the light turn on when you guys are doing your thing. I truly enjoy that. I didn't know that that's what it was going to be when I started teaching. I had no idea, and I mean, that's the thing I would say that probably is the most gratifying for me more than anything I've ever done in the industry is getting an opportunity to see you guys succeed. I love that. I love being able to tell people, oh my gosh, Enzo's out in Palm Springs, or look at John Gonzalez he's at NBC4 now, and I remember John when he was a fast-talking 125 student, right?
Right.
Those are the kinds of things that really make me happy, and currently we've got some students in the program, you included, I think, that have some potential in this industry, and it'll be fun to watch you kind of, progress,
right.
And hopefully it's something that you're satisfied with and you love, and I think that's a good thing.
It's no secret that this program has had a lot of success. Cougar News has had a lot of success. A lot of very talented, very successful people have come out of the program, but not every semester necessarily turns out the kind of talent that a good semester would turn out, say.
Correct.
Sometimes there's an off semester where the kids aren't exactly as motivated as you'd like them to be. Do you feel somewhat responsible for that, or what do you think is responsible for
I don't know.
a change like that?
That's a really good question, and I don't know. I mean,
I'll tell you what my hunch is. The industry's changing.
Yes.
TV news isn't as prevalent now as it was a decade ago. People actually used to tune in to watch the news back in, early 2000s, whereas now Facebook Live is the closest thing you have to something like that. Majority of news is articles.
I think you're seeing big changes on the coast, right? I still think that in between the pipes, as I call it, right? That you still have people that I think are interested in local news. I don't know if they're going to stick around and watch it at 5:00. I mean, I think it's just.
Is it because of their attention span that the media is changing, or?
It's this. I mean, we're doing radio, but I'm holding up a phone right now. But I think the phone, the fact that you can instantly look at something has changed the industry tremendously. But I am convinced that people want to see content. They just don't want to see it at 5:00. They don't want to have to sit there at 5:40 and wait for it. They want to see it when they want to see it. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 10, 15, 20 years to the industry and how it kind of adjusts to that. But the fact is, you still have to create the content. It's not just going to create itself.
Right.
You know, and there's clearly still a need for what I'm training because I can't fill the positions out there that are being asked, right? I get calls frequently from former students. I just got one 2 nights ago, last Wednesday, so 6 days ago. Hey, I got a guy out here in Texas that's desperate for 4 reporters. Can you help me?
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, I looked, of course, I told Bree that she should send a tape or a reel, as you call it, a web link.
Her video resume.
Her video resume. There you go. Good way to translate that. And I have another former Cougar newsie who's just graduating from ASU. He'll be done literally on Monday. And, and he's already gotten, a call back from the news director because, I saw his reel. He posted it on Facebook, and Jesse Canales, he probably saw that.
Yeah. Good reel.
Yeah, really good reel. So there's definitely opportunity out there. And it's probably more so now for your age group and your demographic than ever because there's such a need to understand not just the traditional process of gathering news, but having to use everything around it that's all web-based, that people like me aren't as comfortable with.
I sometimes hear people say that, these journalists that are training right now are going into a dying industry. But I think the people that are training right now are really important because they're going to be the ones that are responsible for the new industry.
Absolutely.
They're going to be huge players in this industry when they do get out there.
Right. Absolutely. And, you guys sitting right here, comfortable with radio, comfortable with television, comfortable with editing, on Premiere. And, hopefully next semester we'll get a little bit more down the, doing some live webcast stuff. I'd really like to start doing that again. All of that is beneficial to you guys so that when you leave, you can just say, hey, I've got all these skills. And they're like, you're who we want because, I'm 50, man. My generation is, we're still there. I'm not dead yet, but I'm just saying we're backfilling with an entire different outlook on how the industry should run.
You say you've never had you've never forecasted a situation incorrectly. I hope that's not your first wrong one, because if so, Josh and I are screwed.
No, no. Listen, I think here's the simple rule. This is what I look for. If I see a student who's passionate about being here, that is dedicated to learning the craft, is unafraid, or eventually becomes unafraid to go out there and challenge themselves and talk to people and pick up a camera, you have a pretty darn good chance of succeeding. It's like any other industry, right? It's the ones that I can pretty much tell you that sit in the back, arrive late to class, that don't show any interest, those are the folks that I wonder what they're doing, it's just the business isn't for them, I hope for their sake that they find something that they like and that they can gravitate toward, but I mean, it's not difficult to spot students that actually want to be doing this, whether it be, radio or TV or film or whatever. There's a common component there, so it's not like I'm a savant.
I want to go back to social media real quick with the Facebook Live stuff, because I mean, I know for Kenyon's radio, there's YouTube and there's the Spreaker website that we're using. But I kind of want to utilize Facebook Live, going live on our Kenyon's radio page, and I'm glad I have you here because I'm like, I know Cougar News goes live sometimes with their news reports and stuff, but is Facebook Live a good thing for us type thing? Would you recommend?
What, in radio?
Yeah.
In terms of just holding it up while you're doing a radio show, so to speak? Or?
Yes. Or even getting a webcam in and
absolutely
doing Facebook Live.
Absolutely.
Here.
I think anything that you can add multimedia-wise, people will watch. I mean, all you have to do is look at, ESPN or ESPN2 or ESPNU in the morning, or Fox Sports, any of them, right? What are they doing? They're literally simulcasting the Dan Levitard show. They're doing Dan Patrick's show. They do the guys that are in the morning for ESPN. I forget their names. Mike and Mike, right? All of those shows you're seeing them as they're also talking to you on the radio, and people just want to absorb content, Josh, and if you can give them an additional reason, you're doing late night talk and you have someone in here and you're having a good time and laughing it up, they want to hear that and they want to see that too, so.
Yep. Dave, thank you. Before we take off, I just want you to plug the classes that you teach here at COC.
Wow, we already done?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, we're going to go into a wrap-up after this little break.
I'm not familiar with this. What's the wrap up?
So it's gonna be like just a brief little explanation of what we talked about. Just like, this is Dave Brill, this is this, and come join.
It's
MEA.
like a summary conclusion for an essay, right, Josh?
Yeah, pretty much.
We're doing this because we need two breaks per show, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. We'll go to break. Let's listen to some music and listen to some commercials. All right.
Wow.
So this is the final segment as we
going
play
on?
another song for some
Bonus music.
Bonus music.
What was that, by the way? That was good. That was a good tune.
Yeah, we're listening to Blink-182. She's Out of Her Mind. That was this break, and I don't think I told you what the last break was. The last break was Bored to Death by Blink-182. Blink-182 night.
Good
Yeah,
tunage
man.
here late night.
Dave, I just want you to plug your classes. What do you teach here?
Well, I actually teach, as you know, the I guess would be the journalism side of things here in our Media Entertainment Arts department, and I personally teach the MEA 125 class, which is the news reporting and anchoring class. So it's like a beginning, lack of a better way of saying, it's like kind of a beginning broadcast journalism / a little bit of multimedia journalism class. And so if anyone's listening out there and you have any interest at all and maybe some, photography, maybe you want to learn how to
Even
write.
if you're a film kid.
Even if you're film, and that's what I say to film kids too, because the film folks, a lot of them gravitate toward documentary style shooting, right? And there's probably no better way to learn it than to learn it from the news side, where you're, not only learning composition but how to write it, right? So so we're doing, you can learn that. Obviously, I know that there's a lot of folks out there that want to be on air and do the on camera thing, and that's certainly, we cover that as well. And last but not least, it's just really a great opportunity to be in a collaborative environment. And I got to give a shout out to my 125 class this semester. By and large, it's one of the more exciting classes I've been a part of, and I'm really hoping that we continue on with most of them in the spring when they go up to MEA 225, which is advanced media production, which is one of the other classes I teach. I like that for a segue. MEA 225 is kind of the second level of 3, where basically they get to do more regular news stories, sports stories, feature stories on a regular basis. I think next semester we've kind of gotten away in the last couple semesters from sort of our regular newscasts, and I think we're gonna get back to that. I think maybe that's part of our issue of just turning out content, is just to kind of get back to our core fundamental, which is doing shows, because I think we've done a pretty good job at them. And so anyway, if you're a student and want to, get into that class, it's best if you go through MEA 125. But if you happen to be one of those folks out there who hears this, and maybe you've been at Cal State Northridge or some other 4-year school where you are interested but want practical skills, 225 is a good way to go. And that class this semester was part of our 3 hours of live election coverage. So they get to do all sorts of fun stuff. And
They also heard it on here, too.
They did. I know. That was very exciting. And then last but not least is MEA 230, which is kind of the second, I guess technically third level of those 3 classes, but really what it is it's kind of the part A, part B of 225. When I designed 230, the initial concept was to actually have it be more the production arm of the class. I mean, you're still producing content, but learning how to be kind of producing our newscasts, which, is a pretty busy job. We could spend another half hour talking about what producers have to do.
Right.
But, I think this semester we had a few of the students who were in 230 that kind of embraced that, some others that kind of didn't. And I suspect that the ones that are going to be up in 230 this spring, who are current 225 students, actually seem like they really want to get into the whole producing thing. So that's kind of cool. So hopefully all three classes kind of work together. So if you're someone that wants to just learn how to do media and you want it at a fairly affordable price and in a fun environment, 125, MEA 125, MEA 225 are your first two options. Then MEA 230 is kind of our senior level course. I will say this, guys, and I found this to be true at the University of Colorado. When you're in a production environment, whether it be in a film class or in our case, a journalism, it's really a great opportunity to kind of develop relationships with folks around you. And a lot of those people that take those courses are the ones that actually wind up helping each other down the road find work in the industry. And so earlier we were talking about the fact we've had so much success with the program in that case, and it's because those students really get a sense of how to work together, and they get a sense of who they like from a work habit standpoint, and then they wind up, the minute they get a job, a minute another job opens up or they hear about a job, they, a lot of times but through word of mouth, they stay in touch with each other. So a prime example of that is our two anchors from the last election show, not the one that we just did, but
Alyssa Dickert and Enzo Marino.
Yeah, both working now. One is in North Dakota in 18 inches of snow at the moment. Complaining about how last winter was mild. Now she's really realizing what a North Dakota winter is all about. But she's having the time of her life. And then her co-anchor was Enzo Marino, who's out in Palm Springs. So that's fun.
And you said every anchor who's ever done an election show is now working.
That is correct.
So Austin, didn't you do this election show?
I'm actually. Hey, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, don't jinx yourself.
I don't jinx it yet.
Let Nick knock on
I
wood.
do. If I can, I
We'll
make
see.
one. I want to make one more plug though, and this
Yeah.
is. I want people when they hear this to write this date down. It's March 4th. Now I'm second guessing that date. It's a Saturday in March. Hold on, I'm looking on my phone here. Anyway, I'm very excited about it because every 2 years we have Media Day roll through here.
Oh, yeah.
And we've already preliminarily scheduled it. Yep, it's March 4th. It's a
Good.
Saturday. Ron Enterainment is out there looking at me through the door. He's scaring me. Ron, by the way, is our amazing engineer. And we're on the air, Ron. How are you, sir? But anyway, we have Media Day March 4th. It's an opportunity for folks for actual pros from the film industry, broadcast industry, journalism, animation, sound arts, of course. And they will basically be here from 8 to probably about 12 or 1 o'clock on that Saturday. And you get a chance to listen to all these different folks come in here and do like seminars. And like 2 years ago, from the journalism side, we had Philip Palmer, Leanne Suter, George Pinocchio, Danny Romero. It was a huge lineup for my ABC people.
It was awesome. Media Day was awesome last time.
And free food.
And free food, yes. And we also, the early word on the street this year is if they can make it, we've got, an anchor coming in from Bakersfield. I'm hoping John Gonzalez can join us from KMBC4. We've got animators and we'll have editors and
vendors.
And
And
vendors.
we're bringing
hold on,
a
what
vendor
vendors?
section where
Yeah. So we're going to
Where
make
kids
it
can
bigger
see the
and
news.
better than ever.
And by the way, hello, Ron.
hi guys.
Yes, hi, Ron.
Welcome me to the show, huh?
Welcome
Yeah.
Ron Entrikin to the show.
There's photo bombing and then there's podcast bombing.
Thank you for the first ever radio bomb, Ron. I had a great experience with the last Media Day. I ended up seeing a lecture from Austin Dave where I met him. I gave him my email address. He emailed me back, and we set up an internship for the local news outlet. I did the internship over summer, and then it turned into a job.
Yeah.
So that originated from Media Day. This is a great opportunity to meet great people.
We actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because about 3-4 years ago, right next to us is this lecture hall, and one Wednesday night, I sent out like a note to everybody on Facebook, all my former Cougar newsies that were still in the area, and we actually had like a career night here.
Yeah, there was like 15 of them that showed up.
15 showed up,
Wow.
and we had, and it led to all sorts of like internships and jobs. In fact, I think there was a couple people that wound up going to work at KTLA TV in the newsroom just based on that one night alone. And I was humbled by the fact that how many of them came back to talk to current students.
Well, and the nice thing is they're a lot closer to your guys' age. So it isn't like some 50 or 60-year-old who hasn't been working in the field for the past 20 years. These are people who are working in the field now.
Right.
That come back and say, hey, take this. It was a really great thing. Don't do that. Do this and take internships, whatever offer they gave. It's a valuable insight, but it's the best thing it is the networking opportunity. And I think that's
So is
really
there
what we're
another
talking about.
day like this coming up, like next
Well,
semester or something?
we definitely have Media Day, and I think that because Media Day is next semester, we'll probably combine it so that it's all happening on that one Media Day. But Austin knows this, and you know this. We get a chance periodically to get former students who are working in the industry to come back and do some guest lecturing, and I would hope that if students are listening to this or anybody that's interested in just getting into this industry or wants to try it, I don't think there's any better opportunity to learn than when you get the chance to have someone come back and actually talk to you that's currently working in the industry. I still remember at the University of Colorado when I was there my senior year, a guy named Tom Costello came and talked to us, and Tom works for NBC Nightly News, and at the time he was like 24 or 25. He had been out for 2 years or something, and it just made a huge impact on me because you get an opportunity to actually hear from someone that's closer, as Ron said, to your age, and they're working, and you can ask them anything you like, and they'll give it to you straight. John always has, which is much appreciated, and I know that we also had Nella Lickshuttle this semester as well, who's working as a producer in Indianapolis, and she was she was sitting literally in these. She and John were both here as recently as 2011, I think, as students. So it's only been 5 years.
And the other issue that is really, I think, important to mention, this isn't limited to kids who are coming to COC. These kids who are coming, these young students who are coming from the high schools, even the junior highs in some instances, but the high schools could be going to Fresno State, could be going to UCLA, could be going to any college or any university or trying to work out there. This isn't limited to kids coming here.
Absolutely.
And we want to be able to expose the high school media kids who really have an interest in this business to people who are in the business, who have a chip in the game.
Like the election show where there was the high school students that helped out with the camera and TDing and everything like that.
And I bet you they'll never forget that experience. I know that when I did,
especially me yelling at a couple of them.
I certainly know that when I was a 22-year-old kid in college and we did that very same thing for News Team 27 at CU. I still remember it was awesome. What a great! That's why we brought it. That's Ron had this great idea to do an hour of programming like 8-9 years ago, whenever the heck that was, and it wound up turning into this this monster that now it's 3 or 4 hours, but it's something that you guys that participate in it are never going to forget.
Well, the reason that we started it, if you go back, we started it at
2008,
President Obama's first election, and because it was rather historic, but we had students who were willing to put the effort in, to do the research, to do the things that they needed to do in order to do the production, because it was all outside of us being kind of the ramrods behind it. It was all student-produced shows, like almost all our shows are. Right. And that's really important to us. It's not our show. I don't know how many hours of video I've shot that's hit the air. It isn't about me. It's
just
about
you guys have the keys for the equipment.
Well, yeah, but giving that equipment and making sure it's used in such a way that these election shows or other specials that we do not only serve us and serve our students, but they serve the community as well. And that doesn't go unnoticed that the community is our audience.
Right.
Well,
But if you're a student out there, high school, college, whatever, and you're still with us listening, absolutely think about coming and checking out our program. It's not just, I know that I teach a lot of the journalism stuff, but there's a lot here, and it's I don't know how much you guys have mentioned it in prior shows, but we have a really healthy filmmaking program. We have great animators. We have sound arts. I mean, it's there's something for everybody to try out, and I just think this is the time to do it. You're in college to try different opportunities, different things, see what you gravitate toward, and really kind of just work hard. Enjoy
it's
it.
really quite cool what's here.
Yeah.
Considering that you pay community college tuition to have access to all this stuff, it's been very important in me kind of growing, and
We have access to experienced minds.
There's programs I hear that they're from CSUs, they're from USCs. They're not getting the type of experience that we're getting here for $46 a unit. So
we have a lot of those same students.
Yeah, they
who
come
go
back
there.
They come back here to get a good experience.
Because they can get their hands on the equipment.
I think we have 3 or 4 of them in the spring returning, or not returning, I should say. We're going to have several 4-year students in the spring here that I work with at Channel 7 that have just heard from, the current people that are in the building at ABC, how much fun they're having and what kind of freedom they have here to do things. And so you're actually going to see some more faces, unfamiliar faces that hopefully will be familiar faces coming in the spring that are coming from Cal State Northridge. We have a girl that apparently who's going to be joining us who went to St. John's University. She's living out here now. She wants to work on her reel,
And any of the
come all at this point.
any of the radio audience, podcast audience out there listening, you can come visit the classes too. It isn't as if we're just kind of this closed door and nobody can get in. You want to find out what a production class is like, what an audio class is like, or animation. Come join us for the day.
And we do have we have 2 MEA clubs that are here for that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't hesitate to pick up a phone, pick up a pen, type it out, send us an email, call us, whatever you're going to do. And let us know your interest, and we can help guide you in that direction.
And of course, if you have an interesting story, contact me directly so that we can have you on the radio.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You can contact me or us.
With that last plug, I'm saying goodnight, but you guys can stay and talk about this.
Yep.
Peace out.
Ron, thank you for stopping by.
Can I just tell you guys one? You two. I think that the whole idea of doing Canyons Radio is fantastic. I have listened to some of your shows. I think this is great. I enjoyed it when I was in college, and I can't tell you how. If you want to this is another plug, if you want to get yourself involved in the broadcast field or in a field of media, there is no better way to do it than to sit behind a microphone in an environment like this where you can kind of get comfortable talking to people, right? And so kudos to you guys. Kudos to John Amador for setting it up, and thanks for letting me be a part of it tonight.
Absolutely, Dave. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for another good semester.
You're welcome. And I'm excited to see what's coming up in spring with you guys.
Absolutely. Josh and I will be back. This might have been a question for Ron. I think we'll be back next week provided the facility is open.
If we can get Ron
Yeah.
if we can get Ron to open the facility, he can be our next guest.
Hey, there you go. That's a good one. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.